And I wanted to be a mover and shaker. I grew up watching shows like Dallas and Dynasty and all that stuff. We had these powerful J.R. Ewing and, Blake Carrington, all these guys were powerful men, like the movers and shakers making things happen. And I wanted to be one of those kind of people. So I said, I need to let people know who I am. So I was always wearing a suit. I was going to different meetings. And one day, one of the homeowners stopped me and said, man, Will, you always dress so nice. Could you help me put my wardrobe together? So long story short, helped him out. He liked what I did. He started telling his friends to me, started helping his friends. Then I started charging his friends, for the advice. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm telling them what to go get. If I provide this, there may be a business in this. Now, again, I'm a country boy from Arkansas. I know nothing about luxury anything. So I didn't know there were companies like Astor & Black, Tom James, and all these places that do this kind of service. So in my mind, I was creating my own service category. But I had friends like Mike Mentor and Mike Rucker, those guys who were friends of mine that played for the Panthers. So I said, hey, do you have your perfect situation? What would that look like? And they told me, so I built the structure of the business initially on that. That's why my first phrase was success, power, exclusivity. It was for the successful and powerful, and I was exclusively for them.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Modern Day Unicorns. Today, I have somebody very special. His name is William the Clothier, and we're going to learn more about him and where this name came from. So I want to welcome you, William, to the podcast, and thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate you calling me up.
Not a problem, not a problem. So I would love you to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, the type of things that you do.
I'm from planet Jupiter. That's where all of us unicorns are from.
You're absolutely right.
I was born with 7 legs, so I had to move. But I'm a unicorn of unicorns. No, but actually, I'm a country boy from Arkansas that sells suits. That's at the core being, that's who I am. I've been very blessed. I was in the Navy for 8.5 years. So in 2018, I got inducted to the North Carolina Military Veterans Hall of Fame. I was in NASCAR for 6 seasons. I won multiple NASCAR championships. I was the first African-American to win a NASCAR championship. In fact, my rookie year, my second year in NASCAR, I was the only Black guy on pit road. And I started designing suits. I owned a construction company, and I started designing suits. And I've been very blessed in that, to where I'm doing those suits for D.L. Hughley and Eddie Griffin and Oscar De La Hoya and a lot of people like that. I've been really blessed to do suits for a lot of entrepreneurs, successful people, business people. But really, my target market has always been just regular people. So I just really been blessed. And I'm an average golfer, but I really enjoy it a lot.
Now you said a mouthful there, so we're going to unpack all of that really quick because but I love the way that you simplified it. I think simplifying things is so awesome. Saying you're a country boy from Arkansas who makes suits. And I know it's usually that simple pitch that just hooks people in. So everything that you just said, kind of to my questions all over the place. You said things from the Navy to NASCAR to construction to, creating clothing for, professionals and celebrities, which is awesome. Can you give us how did you start the Navy? Where did that come from?
Well, where I'm from, like I said, a little small town, people don't really leave. You're just a farm town. So people usually end up like working in one of the little factories, or if they do leave, they move maybe 30 miles. They may go to Little Rock as far as they go, maybe. But I always want to be a doer. I'd rather do things than read about things. So my junior year in high school, I joined what's called the Delayed Entry Program. And so I actually knew my junior year what day I was leaving for boot camp. So I graduated high school on May 20th. May 25th, I was at the MEP station, and I flew out May 26th for boot camp. So I didn't graduate high school. I wasn't out 5 days before I already left home. I left home 5 days after graduating high school.
Okay, it's good to have a plan, and that is exactly what you had.
Mm-hmm. Well, my stepdad was in the Army, and he was in the Navy. And I remember like some of my youngest memories when we were living in North Carolina. My little sister was actually born in North Carolina. He was stationed at Cape Hatteras Naval Base on a submarine. So I don't really remember that part. I don't remember ever going to the base, to be honest with you. But everybody, all the guys I knew that I respected, I sat around at the store talking to, they were all Army vets. I'm like, I want to go do stuff. I want to see the world and things like that. So I went to the Navy.
And that's amazing. That's an awesome opportunity to be able to go and to do at the same time while serving your country. So that's amazing. So we go from the Navy. You know what?
and getting
That
paid.
is important. That is important. And getting paid to do it. That's wonderful. Now you said you were in the Navy for 8 years.
8.5, yep.
8.5 years. That's amazing. So we transitioned from, if correct me if I'm wrong, from the Navy. And how did you go from the Navy to NASCAR?
Actually, there's some steps in between there. When I first moved out, when I first got out of the Navy, because I really didn't know what to do, because I graduated college, I finished all that stuff while I was in the Navy. But I remember I first walked across the stage, walked off the stage, and walked into boot camp. So I really didn't know anything about the real world. So I had, you look at when you're in boot camp, when you're in the military, they tell you where you're going to go, where you're going to live, where you're going to this, what time you go to work, when you get up, when you go to bed, all those things. So I never really lived the civilian life. So it was like, I was like 27, 28 years old, but I was basically I didn't know much more about the world than a high school graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So for about 6 months, I sold cars in Virginia Beach. Just kind of figure out, just so I got to get acclimated to the civilian world, understand how to work in that world. And I moved to North Carolina. My first job, I was actually managing a Waffle House in Pineville. And I took over I was a trainee, and the guy who was training me quit halfway through my training to go get a job with Budweiser.
Mm.
So I ended up having to take over the store halfway through my training. And my first day there by myself, the health inspector came. So I had to do a health inspection with an inspector knowing absolutely nothing about the industry. But I did that for a while, and I enjoyed it to a point. I enjoyed the schedule. I worked from 7 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon. Who can't love that, right? And so I did that for a while. Then I started working at this temp agency. While I was at this temp agency, they had me assigned me to this construction company. And this construction company called John Whelan Homes. And I was basically just doing data entry, just stuff for them. And I was walking out, and the operations manager named Dean Kellum, he said, "Hey, I understand you were in the Navy." I said, "Yeah." He said, "You ever thought about having a job in construction?" I said, "The only thing I know about construction is the process of taking wood and nails and building stuff." He said, "That's perfect, because I don't have any bad habits for us to break. We can just teach you the way we do things."
Mm.
Like, okay, so well, just go out on one of the job sites, spend about a half a day, see if it's something you want to do. I did. I enjoyed it. So I'll pursue it. So then I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna just hire me right there. No, I had to go through like a personality test and all this other stuff. And they were like, "Hey, if you don't pass this personality test, we can't hire you, regardless of all your credentials." So like, wow, that really taught me like the importance of certain things. But I worked there for a while, and 9/11 happened. So when 9/11 happened, the markets, pretty much all markets kind of crashed. So since I was one of the last guys brought in, you one of the first guys they let go of when the market crashes. But it worked out okay because I had a guy who had been recruiting me to work for his framing company anyway. So I got in my truck, made a phone call before I got out of the parking lot. I had another job. So I went and worked for this guy. We were framing houses. I only did just custom homes. So I was with them for a while, and I helped them grow their company exponentially, like 8 times the size, because I helped them restructure how they were doing the business and things like that. But then instead of taking the profits doing what he's supposed to do, the owner of the company started doing a lot of things he wasn't supposed to be doing. So I left there, and I started my own company,
Mm-hmm.
my own framing company. And what was really funny, when I was leaving, I was letting all my builders that I was working with say, "Hey, I'm leaving, start my own company." I wasn't trying to take the business. I was just going to leave. And they said, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to start my own company." They said, "Are you going to have the same guys working with you?" And all the framers, they were all subcontractors. They all came with me because I was the only person in the company they knew, and I treated them with respect. And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, when we just keep working with us, we just pay you." I said, "Well, I'm not trying to steal anybody's business." They said, "Well, it's not about stealing business. We've been working with you for 2 years. We've never met your boss. You're the only person at the company we know. So if we know we're going to still have you, going to still have your guys, all we need is a W-9. We just change the name on the check. Nothing in our life changes." So I started my business with literally the only difference that changed in my life waking up that morning was instead of having to go into the office, a couple times a week, I never had to go into an office because my office was at my home. So, when I made all the money. So that worked out really well. And I did that for a while. But while I was working at John Wheel and Homes, I went to a race that was like having qualifying and stuff for a race, a NASCAR race. So I went with some guys there. And I was like, this is pretty interesting. This is pretty cool. I'd never been to a race before. I said, I want to get involved in that. And all the guys looked at me. They were like, Will, a guy named Steve Allen looked at me and said, Will, look around you. When I looked around, the only people in the stands that looked like me had event staff on their shirt. So, and, you know, I've learned in life, you know, you only know what you know, but you know, ignorance is bliss. I didn't know enough to know I couldn't do it. But what I did know is that all the race teams are in Charlotte. Like every team in NASCAR is based out of Charlotte. Mm-hmm. So I just knocked on doors. Long story short, I got an opportunity there to kind of just hang out around the shop. And a guy named Selbound Davis was actually the first person to open the door to me. So I was looking in the newspaper. Remember, people actually look in the newspapers. So I'm looking in the paper, and I saw where these two black guys are going to start be the first African American team to start a NASCAR team. I'm like, well, this got to be my best shot. They look like me, you know. So, and I wanted to drive, but obviously that wasn't going to work. I was too old to get in the drive. These kids start driving; they're 5 or 6 years old. But we still let me hang around the shop, so I got kind of acclimated with the NASCAR culture. But they had some infrastructure things that went awry, so it didn't work out. So I went shopping myself around again, ended up at another team, and again, wanted to drive, too old, but still let me hang around the shop. And I decided what I wanted to do. I decided I want to be a jack man. So I taught myself the skill, training myself at night at my office. I went to my living room. I cleared out my living room. I taped off a pit box. Now, for those of you who are listening, don't know what a pit box is. If you ever watch a NASCAR race, when the guys come in the car, they change the tires and all that. That's a pit stop. When they change the tire, put the fuel in the car. But the area where they do it is called a box, called a pit box. So each team is assigned their own pit box. That's where we basically live in that area the whole race. So I taped off a pit box and I built a 2-foot wall. And I bought a 45-pound weight, because at the time the jacks were 35 pounds. So I bought a 45-pound weight and I would practice jumping off the wall in my apartment. And then when the guys would go back or they'd finish practice, I'd take one of the jacks and I'd practice jacking the car up and putting it back down and jacking and running around, jacking up, putting it back down. I did that for almost a year and nobody knew. So the next year they get ready to start the season, they were having practice, an opportunity presented itself where the jack man kind of tweaked his back and they didn't want to take a chance from hurting his back when they were just practicing. So I begged the crew chief to give me a shot, and hey, the rest was history. So I ended up in NASCAR while still had my construction company. So I'm still trying to do both. So I'm busting my butt Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and sometimes Thursday, because then either Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday, I'd be at the track. So I worked 7 days a week, 38 weeks a year for 5 years.
That is amazing. So what I'm even gathering from all of that stuff is that you're just a man of making decisions. Like you see something that you're interested in and you go full force. Like you make a decision and you train yourself. You made a pit in your home. Like that is amazing to see that transition. And, you know, I typically call them like pivots, but you were even doing some things at the very same time. How do you grasp onto those things where you see something of interest and decide that it's worth you pursuing 100%?
Well, if I feel it in my gut, I go for it. You know, if it's like there's something that's tangible, but I'm not defined by whether I fail or succeed at that. So I just give it the shot. I'd rather be 80 years old and have a mind full of things I wish I'd never tried than a mind full of things I wish I had tried and never gave myself the shot to. So I figured what's the worst thing happens? They say no.
And where did you develop that mindset? Was that something from your childhood? Was it something from the Navy? How did you develop that mindset to say, I'd rather, fail than not attempt?
Just listening to people their whole life tell me things they wish they tried and not wanting to be them. You know, I'd love to say it's this transcendental thought process or something, this holistic vision that came to me. But it really wasn't. It was just watching other people live their life regretting things they didn't try earlier.
I tell you, I went to a conference one time and there was a counselor there, a geriatric counselor, who said there's two type of people at the end of the road. It's the people who were just old and grumpy because they didn't take the opportunity to do the things that they were interested in. And now they're too old to do them. And they're the people who are at peace, who tried everything, did stupid stuff, and is just now, in a good place to say, all right, if it's over, it's over. I tried what I wanted to. And so I really appreciate you bringing that back to light to say, yeah, if you look around and you haven't tried something, it's more frustrating thinking about what you could have done than reminiscing on what you did do and say, that was a good ride.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So now we go to NASCAR. You're one of the first African Americans in NASCAR to win championships, and that's amazing. So when did your time how did you transition from like your did you ever, at what point in time, because you're not doing construction anymore, correct?
Right.
So at what point, what did you shut down or sell or something like that, the construction business, to go full time with NASCAR? And then how do we go from construction, NASCAR, to now your clothing brand?
Well, the NASCAR, like I said, NASCAR construction I do at the same time. Construction took care of itself because the crisis of 2007, 2008, when housing crashes, all those subprime mortgages and all that stuff, the market kind of crumbled on its own. But God looked out for me because I was, once I decided I want to get into well, let me back this up just a little bit to tell you how the clothing part started to make that make sense. I go to a lot of meetings because you lived in Charlotte for a while. Charlotte's still a growing city. You can make a name for yourself, good or bad, in a really small amount of time in this city. And I wanted to be a mover and shaker. I grew up watching shows like Dallas and Dynasty and all that stuff, where you had these powerful J.R. Ewing and, Blake Carrington, all these guys were powerful men, like the movers and shakers making things happen. And I wanted to be one of those kind of people. So I said, I need to let people know who I am. So I was always wearing a suit. So I was going to different meetings. And one day, one of the homeowners stopped me and said, man, Will, you always dressed so nice. Could you help me put my wardrobe together? So long story short, I helped him out. He liked what I did. He started telling his friends to me. I started helping his friends. Then I started charging his friends, for the advice. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm telling them what to go get. If I could provide this, there may be a business in this. Now, again, I'm a country boy from Arkansas. I know nothing about luxury anything. So I didn't know there were companies like Astor and Black, Tom James, and all these places that do this kind of service. So in my mind, I was creating my own service category. But I had friends like Mike Menor and Mike Rucker, those guys who were friends of mine that played for the Panthers. So I said, hey, if you have your perfect situation, what would that look like? And they told me, so I built the structure of the business initially on that. That's why my first phrase was success, power, exclusivity. Because for the successful and powerful, that was exclusively for them. So that's how I started building it initially. And I just spent a lot of nights, long nights just studying. But I didn't study clothing brands. I studied like websites like Rolex, Mont Blanc, luxury vacation places like this to learn how to speak to that clientele. And again, I'm doing this while I'm still running my construction company and doing NASCAR. But then as I'm learning this, I'm saving some money up. I'm saving money and saving money. Because every business I've ever started, I've had to start it with practically zero bread in my pocket and try to build a business. So I said, this is how I want to do it right. So I saved $85,000. So I was, I'm going to have me a PR person. I'm going to do this right. Well, the market crashed. And I had two builders that shut down operations and didn't tell anybody. So I've got my guys calling saying, William, I can't get a hold of the builder to get some more lumber. We need some more 2x4s because we're going to run out probably in a day or so. And you don't want to just not be able to work. So you need to have your stuff. So I said, I called him. So I called him, couldn't get a hold of him. I'm like, okay. So I said, I'm up in the area. I go by their office. He goes to the office, parking lot's empty. So I'm like, okay, well, it's around lunchtime. You know, maybe they had an event to go to or something like this, or office outing, because they were known to do that kind of stuff. I'll come back tomorrow. I came back the next morning, which was a Wednesday morning. At 8 o'clock, I was there outside the doors. No one was there. I looked through the window. The desks were gone. Computers was gone. They had completely closed shop and hadn't told anybody. Meanwhile, there are people still working on their houses. They had like 5 houses going. There are plumbers in one house, electricians in another house. We're framing a house. There's another set of framers on another house. Someone told all those guys, I'm like, hey, you guys are working for free right now. So now I'm stuck with this conundrum of, we're not going to get paid. This business is shut down and left. I can't even get a hold of anybody. I mean, I can call my lawyers and stuff, but there's no one there. There's not even anyone to sue. So I end up, like I said, I left my house at $85,000 in the bank at 8 in the morning. By lunchtime, I had $1,250 because I still had payroll to pay those guys. And since I wasn't going to get paid from the builder, I had to pay them. So I had to pay them out of all the money I had saved up. I had to pay them with that because they deserved the money. I mean, I could have just, I guess as a business said, hey, I ain't get paid, sorry. That's just, you owe them. And at the end of the day, your word is all you have. So now here I am again trying to figure out what to do. I still got a mortgage, a car payment, cell phone bills, and all this stuff. My mortgage was $1,600. I've only got $1,250, and I have no more money that's going to come in. So I just had to make it work. So again, I'm still doing the NASCAR stuff, but that's how I really had to go full time with the clothing. But I was doing some consulting and stuff for Siemens Corporation. I started doing some of that. So I helped pay some bills while I was, figuring out the clothing part. And 14 months later, I got a call from Calvin Richardson. He wanted me to make a suit for him for the Grammys, and he got best dressed on the red carpet. That kind of let me know, hey, maybe I do belong in this industry. To this day, I've never taken a design class. I've never taken a fashion class. And the only clothing I've ever sold was my own clothing. So it's just been, they say God looks out for old folks, drunks, and fools. I'm not old and I don't drink, so I guess I'm just a fool. But there's no way I could have possibly been here without God looking over me in any of these avenues, from NASCAR to construction and even the clothing.
And I love that part about your story, to where it's just like you willed yourself to do it. You didn't say, I have to go back to school, or I have to, have all of this prior knowledge before doing this. You literally took an interest, a hobby, something that you liked, and you went full force with it. I think that's a lot of times when we have the opportunities, it is our neighbors, our friends, and things of that sort that give us the opportunities to do it. And when you get that knack for it, that's super dope for you to have so much success from something that you initially just interested in. But it is the work ethic that you put in there, the research. You didn't just say, I'm just doing this and whatever I think is fly is fly. It's just like you read on it. You studied brands and everything like that to bring that to your own company. So where are you today? What is the business like today?
Oh, it's doing great now. I was able to go through the pandemic and stuff pretty well. But I want to make sure I clarify this too. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of there that you say about, I put in the work, I did this. So there was a lot of that. But it was also, God put some great people in my life ahead of time that was able to open this door later. Sometimes you have no idea why God put certain people in your life. Mm-hmm. So like Al Wallace, he and I ended up meeting each other at a golf tournament years before, and we became friends. He ended up being not only my first celebrity client, my first client, period. I was sitting in Panera Bread at Valentine, so I'm saying, hey, I'm starting this clothing company, blah, blah, blah. He said, well, I need a couple of sport coats. So he was literally my first customer. And James Chin, who owns Anna's Alterations, who I've been going there for years, getting my suits altered. He's the one who taught me how to measure, taught me what it takes to fix suits and all those kind of things. So it's not just me, it's a collective effort. No one does anything by themselves. When I was, like I said, I paid all my money to pay my guys. I'm not sure how to make my mortgage. A friend of mine literally gave me $2,500 a month for 4 months to help me pay all my bills and everything. so I could keep my house and all that stuff. So there's a whole team that was involved in making it and allowed me to be who I am today. Without any of those people, I'm not here. So even though I've been working there, I want to make sure I acknowledge the people God put in my life to allow me to be able to build this business and open those doors and have those opportunities. Because when I met Al, I never thought about selling suits to him. I wouldn't even think about selling suits when I met him. You know, when I met James, I was going to him all the time because I wanted my suits tailored when I bought stuff off the rack. I never thought he would teach me and be such an integral part of building my business there. So, you know, you can do a lot of things in the world, but you can't do any of it alone. You have to surround yourself with people who are willing to help you and be humble enough to realize, hey, I need help, to ask for help, and be willing to say, you know what, and show appreciation for that.
And that's amazing, to build that network of trusting friends and have those good relationships. And it even speaks to, once again, the character, the fact that you are not, you know, trying to, in a sense, screw anybody over. And you're very honest about even the things that you saved up to pursue, what was a dream, but you did what was right. And I know that your network and your friends understanding that you're doing the right thing found it a pleasure to be able to assist you in your particular time of need. So I definitely love the fact a good network is priceless. It is priceless. So I want to thank you for once again for bringing that up and giving us all a reminder to be decent human beings, so that not necessarily because you may need something one day, but because it's what the world needs, especially right now. We just need good people, supportive people. I have a friend right now, actually my best friend, who's given me the opportunity to pursue something, and she's allowed me to stay in her home so that I can do that. Like, that's something that I could have never asked for, but it was offered to me, and I'm still humbled. I'm very humbled by this particular opportunity. So I want to ask before we wrap things up here, what is next for you?
We just finished the sizzle reel, so I can actually say this now because I'll post this later on today. I want to develop a golf show. Like I told you, I like to play golf. I'm not a super great golfer. I'm not a horrible golfer. I'm kind of like, you know, no one's going to be mad thinking, oh, this guy can't play, but I'm not going to go pro anytime soon either. But I want to I'm starting a show on my YouTube channel. I just want to start a whole new YouTube channel just for this. And I want to go to like courses where they have PGA Tour events. And I want to try to par the number, because every hole, how familiar are you with golf?
Not great.
Okay.
But I think I know enough to follow.
Okay. Well, for those of your viewers, is this audio or visual or both?
It's going to be both.
Okay. So for your viewers and listeners that don't understand golf, when you play golf, there's 18 holes, but they have what's called handicap. Like one hole, they rank from first to 18, which is harder, easier, those kind of things. But it's not like the number one hole is the hardest or number two is second hardest. The hardest hole may be the fifth hole. So what I want to do, I want to try to par the hardest hole on a course from where the PGA pros did it. So say I'm watching the Wells Fargo tournament they did in Charlotte, and say in 2011, Tiger, let's say the number one hole is number 16, and Tiger hit par, hit birdie, whatever on this hole. I want to be able to have the hole set up the exactly way it was when he played. Now I'll play the whole course, but I'm going to try to par the hole that he parred or whatever on. I'm going to try to par that hardest hole on the course that the PGA Tour plays on. So that's going to be my next venture. Because I love playing golf. It'll be fun. It could turn into a really great business, and it has a lot of potential. But more so, it's just something I enjoy doing. I can have fun doing it, and I can bring people along with me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I wish you all the best with that. That's dope to be able to have fun and you know, follow the records of leaders and people that you admire and be able to challenge yourself at the same time. That's great. Now, as we transition, I always love to ask each one of my guests to just give some tips to people looking to be in a similar situation, or just to give some encouragement to those who are in need. What 3 tips would you give to anybody out there just looking for inspiration for the things that they have in their heart, the things that they're looking to do?
Well, first it starts with mindset. And I just realized, I just thought about that God put in my heart a few days ago. The first thing people need to do is master humility. We have to master the art of humility because we all need help. None of us have it all together. We got to be willing to ask for help. We may have an idea we think is great, but it may just be a horrible idea. And if you talk to somebody about it that you know you can trust, you know has your best interest at heart, they may say, hey, I know what you're trying to do. Maybe you try to do it this way or shift it this way or something like this. We need to be humble enough to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to listen to that. You may not always agree, but at least listen. Be willing to take people's advice. And if you are successful at it, not get too full of your own press clippings. And remember, we all need help. Everyone's struggling with something. We need to have humility to be decent people. And as God blesses you, bless other people in the areas where you can. It may just be sitting down after a conference and talking to somebody, answering their questions. It may be doing an interview like this. It may be giving some money somewhere. It may be connecting someone, this person over here with this person over here. Or it may just being smart enough to say, you know what? I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? With somebody that you may not necessarily like, or that may not necessarily like you, or they may whatever, but being humble yourself enough to ask for help. So that's the first thing you need to do. Second, and I've always said this, learn the rules for yourself. If you sit there, you're letting someone else tell you what you can and can't do, that person may see you as a competitor. It may not give you all the information. But even the Bible says, study to show yourself approved among men. You're supposed to know what you can and can't do, know where the boundaries are. So then if you want to go past it, if you want to push it, and why. So you know what your opportunities and options are. Then I would tell people, don't focus on color. Yes, racism exists. There's no question. Sexism exists. There's no question. All those isms are out there. But we can't operate in a manner in which we think everyone is sexist, racist, homophobic, whatever it may be. We have to go in with the full vigor of we're going to do it and be surprised by a person that doesn't help you do it. So don't get caught up, because so many people I see, the white man don't want you this, the black man don't want you this, all this other stuff. Well, sometimes this mythical boogeyman that's in your head is just in your head. These people you think want to hold you back, they don't care if you succeed or not, because you don't affect their life whatsoever. But because you've been told so long that this group of people don't care about you, or this people don't care about you, or these people think you're inferior for whatever reason, then you start believing it. So then you stop pursuing your dreams. I mean, when I was on pit road, literally for the first 2 years, the only thing I consistently saw on the track that wasn't black, besides me that was black, were tires. So, but, a couple years later, I'm the first African-American to ever win a championship. So if I'd listened to everyone else, I'd have never took that opportunity. I'd have saw all those barriers. And now for the rest of my life, no matter what you call me, at some point, NASCAR champion is going to be in there, because that you can never take that from me. And then the fourth, and none of these are more important than the other except this one. And I say it last because if they don't remember anything else, remember this one. I'm a Christian, so to me it's about God. But I think you need to have a strong relationship with whatever your particular higher power is. Because when you're trying to success, whether it's entrepreneurship, athletics, making changes in your life, all those things, even though you may have people that feel like they support you, that will support you, it's still a solo effort. There are parts that are lonely. There are times you're going to have doubts. There are times people are going to doubt you. They're not going to understand your vision. They're going to try to hold you back. They're going to be people that purposely try to impede you from succeeding. All of these things. So sometimes the only people that believe in you are you and whoever you pray to. For me, it's God. It may be Allah. It may be Confucius, Gandhi, whoever it is. You need to have somewhere you can draw that strength from. Because sometimes you need it, because the world can beat you down. And we can beat ourselves down. When we're afraid or we're nervous or we're insecure about things, we can cause things to be problems that aren't really there. So sometimes we need to be able to have something We can call on a power and say, you know what, I can do this. I am good enough. So you can look in that mirror and say, you know what, I'm going to do this. If I fail, so be it. And then I had a fifth. I know you're ultimately
You can talk as much as you want. Go ahead.
But also, don't look for man to validate you. You know, do something because it's what you want to do. If you fail, so be it. We all fail somewhere. You know, you hear all this bravado you hear all the time. You know, it's not all I do is win. You know, we're the best. All this other stuff. It sounds great. It's great for license plates. It's great for bumper stickers and T-shirts, but it's not real life. You can bust your ass every day and never succeed, while another person, they're just barely slacking and they just blow up. You know, or people that are afraid to try something because if they fail, they're afraid of people laughing at them. And they may laugh at you. So what? If you fail, so be it. Show me the person who has never failed. I'll show you the person who's never tried. You know, I could feel my accomplishments could fill a complete page. I could fill a small rule college page with all the things I've achieved in life. But I could write a book of all the things I failed in life. See, everyone looks at your failures and they want to laugh at you. They look at your successes, they want to be you. Neither one of them do they understand you. And both create who you are. Neither defines you. I'm not defined by my successes. I'm not defined by my failures. I'm defined by who I am as a person, who I, William Wilson, am. I'm defined by how I treat people. I'm not defined by how I treat the CEO that wants to buy $10,000 from me. I'm defined by the person who can't do jack for me, how I treat them. I'm not defined by the person who pays me to come speak their event. I'm defined by the person who's volunteering at the event, how I treat that person. You know, because the character of who I am is how I treat the people who can't do anything for me. How I treat the people who can't advance my life at all, who can't connect me, who can't pay me, who can't afford to spend time with me, whatever it may be. I'm defined by how I treat those persons, because that's who my character is. We're defined by our character, not our achievements. And I think too many people spend the time trying to achieve, because they think, well, if I'm successful, people will think I'm this. You're not as important as you think you are. You're not as bad as they say you are. You're somewhere in between. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I did the best I could and I failed. I have been, by worldly standards, extremely successful, and I have a lot of opportunities ahead of me. I'm going to play golf this afternoon. Me, Leonard Wheeler, Eugene Robinson, and a friend of mine who's a client who's actually the member of the golf club. This is a foursome that almost anybody would love to be able to play and to be involved in. And it's just something we just put together this morning. You know, that's a blessing to be able to have those opportunities. But we're all friends not because of what we can do for each other. We're friends because we're all good people who vibe and click with each other. Because we treat each other with decency and respect as individuals, not as they're football players, they're entrepreneurs, or he's a Nascar guy, anything like this. It's how we treat people as individuals. And I've seen how those guys treat other people. So that's what it's about. It's about no matter how high you never get successful enough to treat somebody like they're less than you. Mm-hmm. Ever. And there's too many people that feel they get up to this point, now they can't eat at these certain restaurants. They can't drive this kind of car. They can't stay at this kind of hotel. They can't shop at this kind of store. They have to go to Whole Foods. They can't go to Walmart anymore. They got to go to Morton's because they can't go to Olive Garden anymore. You know, they got to wear, you know, Christian Louboutin. They can't wear, you know, Steve Madden's anymore. Because in their mind, they're trying to impress other people because it's not about them. They're trying to still impress other people. It's about who you are as the individual. So do the things you want to do, live, succeed, fail, in between, be somewhere in the middle, but do it for you, because at the end of the day, your happiness, the people that matter to you, are all that's important.
Mm. That's amazing. Thank you so much for all that liquid gold, all that verbal gold. Thank you so much. Now, I want to ask, please share everywhere that people can follow you, connect with you, support you, because I'd love to continue to, you know, put the stuff that you're doing out there. So please share those social channels with us.
On my Twitter and Instagram, it's the Clothier, TheClothier. On my Facebook, I actually started a fan page, and it's William Wilson the Clothier. You can find that because the Clothier was taken by some company who hasn't updated since 2012, but they won't sell me the thing or nothing. I just can't get it from them. That's really the best way: Instagram, Twitter, or go to my website, WilliamWilsonClothing.com, and you can reach out to me there.
Well, William, I want to thank you once again for just spending some time with us and sharing all of your wonderful information and the journey that you've done. It's super, super encouraging. And so for all of you out there who are looking to make a change, to start something, to try something, you can see here with the conversation that we had today with William that it is more than possible. If you're still alive, you have nothing but time ahead of you to continue to explore those different opportunities. So if you yourself are a unicorn or you know somebody else that I can have a conversation with, I'd love for you to go ahead and put that information down below. And until next time, I want to thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.